This is Professor Andrew Dessler of Texas A&M University. Earlier this year, I had the chance to talk to him about renewable energy and the energy revolution, and also how to build a robust grid with intermittent renewable energy.
So what people don't understand is that we're going through an energy revolution right now. That's every bit as significant as the revolution that brought in fossil fuels 150 years ago. And basically, it's driven by the fact that wind and solar energy have just plummeted in price over the last decade. So solar has dropped by 90% over the last decade and wind by 70%. And so by most measures, they're now the cheapest energy sources that we have. And you know, when I tell people that, they're often shocked, like, oh, I don't believe that. And then I show them what's going on in places like Texas. If you know, Texas has a free market, free energy market where anybody can hook any kind of energy they want up to the grid. And in Texas, the vast majority of energy being connected to the grid is solar and wind and batteries, surprisingly. And gas is the biggest fossil fuel contributor, and that's about 10%. So it's 90% of the energy being connected are climate safe energy sources. And the people connecting the power, they're not Birkenstock wearing hippies who drive VW Beetles. I mean, they're guys who are out to make money. And the reason they're connecting wind and solar is because that's the cheapest energy source. That allows them to make the most money. So this is a real revolution that's going on right now. And you know, if your knowledge of energy is a few years old, it's completely out of date. And you know, there's a lot of mythology about renewable energy, that renewable energy makes electricity more expensive. And if you look at the United States, it's not more expensive. I mean, there's no correlation between how much renewable energy is on the grid and how expensive it is. And, you know, other people will say stuff like, well, when you add renewable energy to the grid, the price goes up. And that's a testable hypothesis, again, with data. And if you look at the data, it doesn't show that electricity gets more expensive as you add it to the grid. And you know, these are all testable hypotheses. You can use data to investigate. And it really shows you that the cheapest energy sources are wind and solar. And you know, the innovation that's driven the price down over the last decade, that is not going to stop. That is going to continue in the future. So as much as wind and solar are cheaper now, that's going to just continue, and they're going to continue being cheaper and cheaper, and they will beat fossil fuels by a larger and larger margin into the future. And they almost all estimate that there'll be a huge number of new jobs generated by this clean energy transmission. So, you know, not only will we be paying less for energy, but there'll be more jobs. What you want to do to have a low-cost, reliable grid is to basically use wind and solar most of the time, as much as possible, because again, the marginal cost of those energy sources is zero. They don't burn any fuel. So you want to use, and they're very cheap to construct. So you want to use them as much as you possibly can, but you need to have, in addition to the intermittent renewables, you need to have some what they call dispatchable power, which is power that can be turned on and off. So nuclear, you could use geothermal, hydroelectric. You know, these are the sources that when you need hydropower, you just send water down the tubes, it spins a turbine, you get power out. So that's the grid that's going to give you reliable, cheap power. It's the grid that gets you the lowest air pollution. It minimizes climate change. It has it's the most secure energy source. I have very high hope that innovation will proceed much faster than we expect, and we can do even better than this for even less money. That at least is the history of previous environmental problems.